Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel and to today's video all about how to pass your upcoming AFM, that's the P4 examination, with some top tutor tips. I'm delighted to be joined by Sunil Bandari, who's given up his time today, a top tutor of AFM, where we're going to walk and talk through everything you need to know, how to pass your examination, what mistakes not to make, and little things that could be the difference in getting you that 50 plus. So Sunil, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, thank you James. So obviously, as James said, I'm Sunil Bandari. I've been a tutor longer than I care to remember.
It's not that long, come on.
I actually started way back in 1986. So and I've taught in the classroom, taught online, and I love teaching FM and I love teaching AFM. AFM is my really big favorite subject, and I've been privileged enough to teach it and write articles on it and enjoy it immensely. Absolutely love it. I'm here to give you some guidance and tips on how to pass this great paper.
I mean, any questions Sunil I get on AFM, key things that I always say is make sure you go and read Sunil's articles in PQ magazine. Have a chat to him. He is the guy. So what I've done for you is I put all his details in the description below. Feel free to check them out and make sure you've got a pen and paper for today to take down all the notes. So if you've got any questions, leave a comment in the video as well. More than happy to help on there. So Sunil, where would you kick off from someone who is literally just about to start AFM? How are they going to pass it in your opinion?
Okay, so AFM, when you go from FM to AFM, you go to become a specialist. You're going to be a specialist. And with AFM, this is a narrow syllabus, right? This is a narrow syllabus, right? So, and in this narrow syllabus, and I'll give it as I would say, which is slightly different to the official syllabus, right? So the way I would look at it is the key areas would be, you're looking at investment, so you're looking at cost of capital and finance. You're looking at advanced investment appraisal with options. You're looking at the area of business valuations and reconstructions, and you're looking at the area of risk management. So you're looking at a pretty narrow what is going to be syllabus. The first thing is to make sure that you are aware that on those topics that I've just mentioned, the two topics must be tested in every single exam to some extent. Advanced investor appraisal with or without real options must be tested to some extent. And the examiner incorporates cost of capital into that element. That effective risk management must be tested to some extent in every exam. But business valuations, and I wrote the article on that, thank you, is the most tested topic in the history of AFM. So what you've got is, to kick off, know what the end game is. Know what the end game is. So when you're doing your studies, you keep in mind what that end game is. That end game being that you know that not in every paper, but in most examinations, you're going to see advanced investor appraisal with or without real options. You're going to see risk management for sure. And you're going to see an element of valuations and corporate reconstructions in there. And that really then makes it, and yeah, they can add a few salt and pepper, as I call, dividend policy, a few other things, but those are the cores. If you know those, when you start your studies, you know where you're going to put your emphasis.
Proper chance. Lovely stuff. No, really good way to kick off the recording. But to stay with the football analogy, I'm thinking now even before kickoff. So I'm thinking, what if we've got a student who's watching this who hasn't done FM in a long time? What's your advice for someone who's not got, they've not maybe looked at FM in maybe over a year, but maybe 2 years, shall we say? What's your advice on that? Would you advise them to go back through their notes or have a look through the articles on ACCA's website? What would be your thought process?
Okay, well, there's three things here I would mention. And I'll mention mine briefly. I'll mention the others. Okay, for me, I run online courses. In my online course for AFM, I automatically build in the FM areas, right? So that's I'll park that to one side. Okay, so looking at the other choices, the ACCA have got videos and material on their website that is bridging that particular gap. They've been fantastically to prepare that. They've prepared material, tests. They've designed it for people who've been exempt FM or have had a gap in FM to build that bridge across, right? To move it across there, right? But so that's the second one. The third one is, if you ask me, Sunil, what topics would I look at from FM before I started AFM? Right, so I said to you, Michael's a bridge that will build them in. But what would it, if I had a manual to go, manual there, official somewhere down there, I've got an official manual. Pulled out, what would I look at? I'd look at investment appraisal, net present value, internal rate of return. Tick those two off. Out the one side. I'd look at basic weighted average cost of capital. Just the basics of weighted average, nothing more than that. Yeah. And the last thing I'd look at, I won't even look at business valuation, I'd leave it. I'd look at risk management, currency, forward contracts, money market hedges. So I'll repeat that. Investment appraisal, NPV, IRR. I'd look at what is going to be basic weighted average cost of capital. And I'd look at what is going to be risk management, currency risk, forward contracts, money market hedges. Right? Wow. I also want to add this, though, which I think is incredibly important. And some people, the students listening to this, probably think I'm crazy what I'm about to say. When people think the word advanced, it must be more difficult. Oh, it's got to be more, it's advanced, it's advanced. It's got to be harder. If I can show you and prove to you that many of the topics that are covered in FM, when they come to AFM, are easier. And one of the ones that comes to my mind is cost of debt. Cost of debt in a WACC calculation is far, far easier in AFM than FM. Yeah. The other thing you have to be aware of in AFM is some of the skills that you do in FM, they change style in AFM.
Okay.
And I'll give you one little example. In investment appraisal in FM, MPV, we would lay out an investment appraisal such that after we've done operating flows and deducted tax, we'd put capex and scrap value, and then we'd have a line, tax saved on TAD, tax liable depreciation, tax saved on it. Okay, that's in FM, right? But in AFM, we don't do that. We deduct the TAD to arrive at a profit. We work out the tax, and we add back the TAD, right? So you'll come to the same technical number, but you do it differently. And I know somebody's now going to say to me, but why is Sunil saying that you do it differently? Because in FM, we don't have foreign currency MPV where you have it's all domestic. In AFM, we have foreign currency NPV, where you could have a double tax implication on profits earned abroad. So that's why I'm always very careful that when you are preparing from FM to AFM, don't go and read the whole manual. Just what I mentioned. Just what I mentioned, the basics, and then be ready for the changes when you come to AFM.
And in terms of a step up, then, so if I'm a student who's got maybe, let's call it hypothetically 55% on FM, I've had a year, I've done a couple more exams, I've passed SBR or whatnot, and now I'm thinking, right, I'm going to do AFM. In your eyes, how much of a step up would it be for a student in that sort of situation?
I don't think it's as big a step up as people think it is. Right. Let's look at it. If you look at the option paper pass rates, I've done this analysis. Look at the option paper pass rates. First of all, take a big gulp of water because you'll see they're all quite low, right? But this is for a discussion for me and James to have on a different video, right? Why they're that low, right? But ever since it became AFM and not P4. AFM has been ranked as either 1 or 2 in the option paper pass rate, and I can prove it. I can show you the stats, right? It was ranked 1 in September. It's never gone below 1 or 2, right? And that is telling you, right? And that's before CBE. In CBE, it's going to become even better. And that's because AFM, as I've said, there's got to be 2 topics always tested.
Yeah.
There's always this 3rd topic, which is the most tested area. It's a narrow syllabus that you've got to know in depth. Yeah. And the jump up from FM to AFM isn't, to me, it's not a jump up. It's a different approach to it. Like I said to you, with things like cost of capital, they simplify some of the stuff. Yeah? The issue with FM is because you've got those objective test areas where you get right or wrong, the mark could be distorted. If we had a situation where FM was totally long questions, right, and somebody did a total long question FM and then went to AFM, you'll find that that 55 marks would be higher because of the way that you're looking. Because as I said, in FM, there's that worry that if you get one question wrong, though you've actually got most of the concepts right, you lose all of the 2 marks. That doesn't apply with AFM. I've taught many students who have been exempt what is going to be FM and passed AFM. I've taught many students who failed FM twice or 3 times, not with me, but failed twice or 3, and then come and do AFM and pass first time. So it's not as a big. I think where you've got the big links are between AA and AAA, and between tax and ATX. That's where I think there's a strong link. Right. That link isn't as strong between FM and AFM.
Okay, well, you did touch on that as well, which I'm sure the viewers there are just asking me, James, you've got to ask about the computer-based examination practice platform. What are your thoughts, Sunil, and how should an AFM student use it to their advantage going into their exam?
Well, I love the practice platform, right? And I love the practice platform because, like I have spent a long time on it. And if I say to you that to date, I have recorded 58 past exam questions on the practice platform, 58, right, with 3 more to come, which will come in 2 weeks' time when the results are out, and when the next one's 61, they will be available. So I understand the practice platform inside out, right? What are the fantastic advantages of spreadsheets? Spreadsheet was made for AFM. It's like me and my wife fit perfectly together, right? It's like marriage made in heaven. It's my wedding anniversary next week. I'll remember to buy something, right?
Congratulations.
Right? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, James, you better remind me to buy that present. Yeah, remind me.
Don't now. Trust me, Sunil, on this. Don't buy her exam entry for the AFM exam. I'm not going to.
I thought that won't go down well. Yeah. So, for example, with AFM, when with the practice platform, the spreadsheet has got, the ability to calculate basic discount factors, the ability to, functions to calculate annuity discount factors, function for MPV, function for IRR, function for MIRR, function to work out e to the minus RT, function to work out norms. It's got so many shortcuts, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And that most students would say doing the calculations on spreadsheet are far easier than doing the pen and paper.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
And now you can clearly see the examining team are writing questions in a manner where they ensure that when you're doing a calculation here on one spread and you've only got that one exhibit open, because all people who've done this, this professional level know this controlling of the screen, right? Well, if you can put all the relevant information in one exhibit and then just have the answer sheet here, the spreadsheet ready, or the word processor, makes it far easier. Spreadsheet has been fantastic for what is going to be AFM, right? With word processor, one of the great things you can do is you obviously copy requirements from the question into the top of the spreadsheet, into the top of the word processor, and then you can answer from there. So I would say to you, it's one of the reasons why AFM pass rates have gone up. Not the only reason. has been the CBE practice platform, and
Oh.
and the practice platform and the response areas are really get used to them. Like I said, I've videoed 58 questions to date, so that's every topic: currency, interest rates, MPV, dividend capacity, everything. And you find that once you've got through a few of them, they tend to you repeat the skill. It's not that difficult.
Oh, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but if I had to do AFM in 2 months' time, what would be the first thing I would do? I'd go have a look through all the past papers available on ACCA's website. I'd go, first of all, do them to time, and I'm assuming I've done all the syllabus, and, I'm on to revision now. But then I would write down in a separate piece of notes, right, what were the functions that I had to use on the 2021 paper? Little list, brilliant, all together. Now let's have a look on the 2020 papers. These are the ones I had to use, and I just collate them all together, and I'd get comfortable with them. So I've got the knowledge, so whatever came up in that exam, I could apply it effectively.
Absolutely, and also because you've got within the paper itself. If you're looking at Q1, the 50 marker, you start at +4. You don't start at 0 because you've got the 4 structure and presentation marks. 1 mark, just 1 mark for putting a heading report 2, right? 1 mark for just putting introduction and conclusion. 1 mark, right, for ensuring that basically you've got your you're structured in subheadings, and you've got 1 mark for what is going to be the appendices, the calculation of the appendices. So you got your 4 to start with. You kick off with 4 marks very straightforwardly. That's not it's not difficult to obtain. So it's like I said, 1 mark for the heading, 1 mark for introduction, 1 mark for conclusion, and 1 mark for the calculations in the appendices. But the appendices are in the spreadsheet, so they're automatically separated. So it's this, and with question 1, yeah, it's the more difficult one, it's the more challenging one. It's going to have at least 3 topics tested, but questions 2 and 3 are going to be dedicated to 1 main topic and 1 supplementary topic.
Interesting.
I have a quite unique time. Again, I also think outside the box, right? I have a quite unique way of doing this paper. I use a method called 48, 47, 10, 40, 50. Right? It's also again 48, 47, 10, 40, 50. What do I mean by that? Okay. Don't do Q1 first. You do Q1 first, it's like a great white shark. It will eat you. Right? You cannot get off it. So you leave it. Let it go. Go to either Q2 or Q3. Quick look at the requirements. Which topic is being tested? Right, I like Q3. Q3 first, 48 minutes. 48 minutes. Do Q3 in 48 minutes, stop. Or Q2, whichever one. Then go to the other question, Q2. Do that in 47 minutes. Stop. You haven't even looked at Q1. Don't know what's in there, right? Then you go to Q1. Clock's on. You got 10 minutes, read the requirements and the exhibits. Requirements, then the exhibits. 10 minutes done. This is the hard bit. This is the hard bit. 40 minutes, do all the written. All the written. That's the unrelated written part A and the report. And everyone say, but you got to do the calculation in the report. No, you have not. You do not have to do the calculation to do the report. You can do the report without doing the calculations. Because you can do it based on what the information is within what is going to be the data. And then if you have to do a conclusion, you can say, assuming this will be my conclusion. And then you get own figure rule marking. And the last 50 minutes, you do the 2 appendices. If you do the 2 appendices in the last 50 minutes, you can't go over time because that clock's going to time you out. And I promise you, my students will tell you that, right? I've done all my papers that way. 47, 48, 10, 40, 50. But James, you always say, practice questions. To do that method, you've got to believe in it and you've got to practice it. In fact, there's a free video on my YouTube channel of the last Q1 that was published at the time of this recording. and you can see me do it. It's got a full question. It's a question called Chakula. Yeah, it's a full business valuation question. You can have a look at it. You can see me do that approach.
Yeah, you could from your doing it to time video, the students can do theirs to time on there. I mean, I always say on my videos on it, look, if I'm willing to put the time into it to help you, it's give or take. You've got to sit down on that Saturday morning, Sunday morning when you're completely free, and just have that 48 minutes and get stuck into it. And
Absolutely.
it will pay benefit in the future. I mean, if I was to say to you, maybe a student watching this who isn't going to do a past paper before their AFM exam, what would you say to that?
Well, okay, I'll give an example. Right, you love running, and you know, before my injury, I loved running. Right, so and a few years ago, I did the Birmingham 10K, and I had this. So this is a long answer to a short question. So I had this aim that I was 57 years old. It was on my late father who passed away. He would have been, you know, his 57th effectively. Well, it was on his anniversary of his 57th birthday. So I wanted to say, could I do 10K inside 57 minutes, right, in honor of my father, right? Because I was 57 and he passed away when he was 57. That's what I meant to say, right? So imagine if I said, I'm going to do 10K. I'm a general runner who does 4, 5K, 6K, 10K. Tell you what, I'll just turn up on the day. I've never done a 10K run before. I'll just do it. It'll be fine. I'll do it easily. Yeah. Please get the stretcher ready to carry me halfway off, right? So what did I do? I practiced. I started 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, and then I looked at where I was. I looked at where in the city of Birmingham I was running. I looked at the gradients. I looked at what I was going to do. So I started to run 10K, 11K, 12K, no more than 12. But I practiced. I repeated it and I repeated it and I repeated it. And then when I came to the day, I wasn't scared. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was facing. Apart from all the people around me, which was different. That atmosphere is different. So that's the same as being in the exam room. It's not my PC. I've got to get used to that. But then I did the 10K in the 57 minutes.
Oh, congratulations!
And ran. So that is the answer to your question. If you think you can go straight into an exam and you've not simulated the experience of either a proportion of it, a question, in exam time, but more importantly, all of it on several occasions, it's a recipe for failure. It's a recipe for not passing the exam.
Fail to prepare to exactly. And the past papers that you go through, the narrative questions, the calculation questions, understanding the bits that you're getting right, but more importantly, understanding the things that you're getting wrong, and then also saying to yourself, I won't make that same mistake in the exam. By making that mistake now, that's 3 more marks in the bank that I won't get wrong in the exam. And it's just, they just keep building. That's the key thing.
Absolutely. And the other thing that you learn to get used to is the idea of getting used to the time pressure and realizing when to move on. When I finish, when I can't finish part A, I move on to part B. When do I move on to part C? You get used to the time pressure. You get used to that, like I said, simulating what you're going to face on the day. If you simulate what you're going to face on the day, I always think that's great. I always tell my students when they do a mock exam, right, go and find somewhere that they're going to do the mock exam on a different PC. This is obviously if COVID allows, right, in a different place, in a place that they're not really totally comfortable with. So that way they get used to going into, if they're going to do the exam in an exam room as opposed to remote invigilation. That way you go, well, this is not my PC, this is not my mouse, or I'm not quite used to this. But then you simulate that physical condition of not being on. This is my study. I'm comfortable with this, but I find this when I base in India or somewhere else. I'm having to work out of a different environment. You just adapt.
I agree with you. It's you just got to visualize what you're going through and then say, start with the end in mind. For a Man United sort of analogy on it, it's like Ronaldo taking a free kick, isn't it, Sonny Ali? He visualizes
Absolutely.
it's going in the top corner, but maybe
And
sadly
hopefully
not.
it will. And hopefully, sadly not. It hasn't been recently, but hopefully it will do one day again. But you're right. You've got to simulate what's going to happen. I think a lot of students, unfortunately, when they don't get the pass, they don't get it for the reason that they haven't done enough practice questions prior, or enough mock exams, prior to going in.
I completely agree with you. And if someone's failed AFM a couple of times,
let me tell you a really key point with AFM. The examiners love the articles. The examiners absolutely adore the articles. The articles are really, really key. There are 19 official articles. Now, I'm lucky enough that I've written 4 of those. 2 on investment appraisal, 1 on Sukuk finance, 1 on business valuations. I've contributed to a couple of others in terms of the base one for interest rate risk came off my original articles. They love the articles. Split the articles into 2 groups. Yeah, the ACCA have recently done something which I thought was fantastic. They decided to categorize the 19 articles into the syllabus areas. They've not done that before, which is really good, right? But when you take those articles, split them between which of the articles are showing calculation method. So which are basically confirming something that you should already be good at, or is showing you how this tutor might do it. So if you went, again, if you went on my YouTube channel, you will see I put an article on business valuations there based on my article, which shows you how I would do a business valuation. Okay, so that's what you call an application article. Then the other articles are knowledge-based. They're the ones which you're going to have to learn. For example, IPO versus reverse takeovers, RTO versus IPO, those ones. Sukuk finance, Islamic finance, right? Those behavioral finance. Those are ones which require you to read and digest and learn. Yeah, so split the articles between those 2 areas. The ones which are calculation or application based really should only be tweaking what you're already doing, right? And once you've watched it, that tells you how to do questions.
Yeah, you should already have the syllabus knowledge on there. So I mean, set yourself a target of maybe 2 articles a week, something on those lines, nice and easy to digest, and it will pay dividends. That I always think of it like this: they wouldn't upload them on there if they weren't going to be beneficial. You're going to be at an advantage if you read them through. And every ACCA student knows, oh, I really should read the articles. But the emphasis you've placed on it, and that you've written 4 of them, which is fantastic.
But the ACCA love them. I mean, they really enjoy. They think that they're very important. I mean, they update them. I mean, they've recategorized them just now recently. I was on the site, a couple of days ago, and saw that recategorization of the articles. So I thought it was a great idea. Just shift them around, move them into a different order, into a more logical order, which makes sense, rather than put them in the date order they're written. They're written now, put into syllabus order.
Oh, nice. Otherwise, you log onto it and you're like, oh my word, where do we even begin? But
But like I said, if you take them all, and I've got them all printed off, I've got them all in a file. But when I use them, I always say to students, if I've already covered that article in a calculation in a lecture, you don't need to look at it. I've done it for you. That's my job. But if it's a written one, you got to read it.
Yeah,
you still got to understand it.
You got to digest it on there. But I mean, we could chat AFM all day, Sunil, because it's proper interesting stuff. But is there anything on the top of your mind that you're just thinking to yourself, James, I couldn't sleep tonight if I've got an AFM student who's watching this now? This is paramount. They need to know for their notes. What's coming to the forefront of your mind in injury time now?
Do every question that you ever practice on the practice platform, and do not do any questions on Microsoft Word and Excel.
All right. Is it
simple
from
as that?
Really?
Yeah, simple as that. Yeah, simple as that. Yeah, simple as that. I mean, I think that and I'm not a criticism of Microsoft Word and Excel. Great products, right? I'm saying to you, when you look at things like the spreadsheet is not Excel. It has got some limitations. You can't insert a row. You can't insert a column. The paste value facility is slightly different, right? There are certain things, the functions are the same, right? If you get used to, for example, the word processor doesn't have spell check.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I'm terrible at spelling the word acquisition. Me, the guy who writes business value. I always miss out the C at the start. AQ. Come on, son, get real, right? So what you do is you get used to doing things there, right? And that way you get used to what are the goods and the bads of the CVE practice platform, and then when you go in the exam room, you're not having to adjust. If you do Excel and Word, you have the problem that you're so used to being quicker. Most people are much quicker on Excel than they are on the spreadsheet. And when you're used to correcting spelling errors on Word that you're not on word processor. Then if you say to yourself, well, how do I save my stuff on the blank workspace? Well, you do a Control-C, Control-V copy of your spreadsheet to Excel. And if you've used any equations, you can reconstruct them on Excel. So you've got a record of them. And then you can do a Control-C, Control-V copy of your word processor to a Word document. But I would strongly urge everybody, every single practice question you do it on the practice platform.
Lovely stuff. And just to be clear, because I get this question quite a lot, the workings that you do on Excel, in the formula sheets, just walk and talk us through best approach for that. What would you say?
Right. With workings, as far as what is going to be the spreadsheet is concerned, markers can see your cell. Markers can see what's in your cell. So if I, for example, said I was doing a cost of equity calc, I'd say KE via CAPM. So that's what's in the first cell, and then in the cell of the calculation, I just show the calc. Right. I wouldn't show KE equals risk-free plus beta equity into RM minus. I wouldn't show that. I'd just go KE via CAPM. So the marker knows I'm using CAPM, then the cell, and you can see the cell. So I would say you have to limit what is going to be your workings in relation to what is going to be. You only do a working if you absolutely have to, right? Because markers can see your cell. Yeah. Right. If I'm saying sales are growing by 3%, I'll say sales growing by 3%, sales up by 3%, and then just show it and do the count, because the marker mark the cell. The other thing as well, when you're working on spreadsheet, a lot of people work downwards, which is fine. What I tend to do is work downwards on my requirements, but I try to keep my workings on the right-hand side. Right. So that way it's easier for the marker. It's just speed of marking, that's all, to get the marker on your side.
And to get comfortable with the format as well, so you've got all the important stuff on there. But then it comes back to your point, which I agree on, as to, well, if you're doing it on Word and Excel, that isn't how it's going to be laid out when you sit that exam.
No, it's not. It is the big things is, and I did an answer yesterday, on the practice platform and transferred it across. Now, if I did it on Excel, I would have done it in a quicker time period, because there's certain things you can do on Excel which take a little bit longer on the practice. It's there, trying to box up an area, to highlight it. It's a little bit longer. It's not as easy as right click. It doesn't work like that. The one thing that is the same on both are the functions, MPV, IRR, all those I mentioned. Those functions are identical, Excel and what is going to be spreadsheet. But it's the one that the students have the most difficulty with is when they miss out a row, insert a column. So what I say to them, I'm doing an investment appraisal. If I was doing Excel, I'd have sales, next line, incremental cash costs, and there'd be no spaces, right? If I'm doing spreadsheet, sales misaligned, incremental misaligned, just in case I need to add something in.
Yeah, comes to practice.
And that's one of the differences that you learn on it.
Spot on. You're saying plenty of notes taken down today, and so I must say again, a huge thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Loads of students have been taking down notes furiously today. But if you've got any other questions, guys, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Myself and Sonny will be more than happy to check them out. And all of his details are down there as well. And I hope you enjoyed today coming on.
Thank you. I have. Thank you, James. Thank you very much. Thank you. Brilliant.
That's all right. Well, I
Absolutely
hope,
brilliant. Been brilliant.
oh, you're more than welcome. And if you have enjoyed the video, guys, make sure you give it a massive like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos. Check out Sunil's channel as well with all the details we talked about in today's video, because it could be that difference, isn't it, right, Sunil, between that 47, 48, 49 and getting the 50 plus. That is the main thing. That is the main thing. And if you do that, I think you can do it. That is the main thing. But as always, on that bombshell, we'll see you next time. Cheers.